Welcome to this HFS Videocast. I'm Mark Reed Edwards, Marketing Leader at HFS. Today we talk with the analyst behind the HFS SaaS XXV, which we just released. Joining me is Joel Martin, Research Leader for Cloud and SaaS Strategies. Joel, it's great to have you here.
Great to see you, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so can you tell me what's behind the SaaS 25 and why we developed it?
Well, two major things kind of drove us in this direction. For years, we've been covering the services and implementation of software, cloud, outsourcing, and really over the past 12 months, Phil First and I've had this debate and discussion around how software is converging with services. It's no longer about adding on or waiting for features to be released. With automation, AI, analytics, all part of pretty much every software package people purchase these days, and most of them being delivered by the cloud. They're available to be used, and they augment people's skills right away. So instead of having to outsource analytics or get people in a low cost geography to do process work for you, the software is doing a lot more of that, using its AI, using its automation tools, and making that available to both the business and technology teams to come together under one umbrella to provide more business value. And that's the second piece. There's been a lot of focus on the usability of software, especially over the last 5 years. We've seen a lot of focus on CSAT. Do our users have a good experience when they're using software? Is it friendly? Is it intuitive? Which honestly has been driven by the whole mobile phone generation, where we just can push buttons and magical things happen. Now we're seeing it happen at our desktop, but we want it to be in the context of not just what I'm using it for, am I happy with it, but is it creating business value? Are people that I might not work directly with, the accounting teams, the supply chain teams, the front office teams, are we all getting value out of the interactions we're having with that software? Are the data, the process, the workloads really enabling us to act faster with more agility and really work smarter? So we took those two concepts. One, services and software are coming together, and that the focus should be on creating business value. And we've really teased that out in our study that we call the SaaS 25.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to think of software and how in the old world of shrink wrap, you had to adjust the way you worked, whether it was using a word processor or an ERP, to the way the software worked, right? And now the software adapts to the way you work.
No, you're exactly right. One of the things I really focus on is looking at agility in the workplace. And you combine that with, where we've come with various tools, and we see a lot more going on with low code. Now, where low code ties into this is, again, a big trend that we're seeing creating business value is you're seeing the business teams as well as the technology teams as well as their partners being able to use really drag and drop to do exactly what you just mentioned, Mark. Make the software work easier for you, make information flow, and reduce the bottlenecks. And again, creating that overall one office view of what data is most important to my employees, to the teams they work in, both virtual and in person, but as well as with the customers, and working really closely to understand what do the customers need to accelerate the customer's ability to get value out of the transaction as well. And that's really changing, when we ask questions amongst the global 2000. And in the study that led to this, we talked to nearly 700 business and technology decision makers about which software do they see driving business value in the way they operate and the way their teams can interact with their partners, with their customers, and with their peers. We complemented that with another 250 services providers because we wanted to see what they were implementing and which partners on the software side they had that were really either augmenting or in some cases replacing their traditional legacy outsourcing practices. And then we closed it with roughly another 100 software vendors themselves, just talking to them about what do they feel creates value? What do they see as the advantages of software as a service, and why is it being adopted? So in this report and the series of research that we'll be putting out over the next couple months, it really takes all three lenses. It looks at the user perception of what's creating value and what they're going to adopt and where they're going to accelerate their investments. It looks at the channel and the partner and the implementation aspect. So what are the service providers recommending? How are they bringing their IP, their industry knowledge to further direct and enhance the customer's experience, as well as the broader user experience? And then it looks at the software ecosystem itself and says, so who's really doing something innovative? Where are new thoughts coming from? Are they in line with what their partners and end users really want? And how are they collaborating and adding value to that overall discussion? So a lot of exciting research coming down the pipe. And the first piece is really this really seminal piece that we're calling the SaaS 25, which based on the inputs from the service providers and the end users, we went through 100 different software vendors, and based on scoring and looking at the data, we've come up with a list of the 25 that our customers, as well as end users, have told us these are the ones that matter to us. These are the ones that are shaping the way our business operates, and that really is some exciting stuff. And it's not just the names you'd expect. It's a lot of interesting companies from across the board that show you how large and medium-sized companies are embracing software as their operational model has changed to really be cloud first and cloud native.
That's interesting. So why don't we just cut to the chase here? And can you give me an overview of the top providers and, what distinguish those top providers from the others?
So, I won't list off all 25. The report will be on the website and it would take forever, but there's some nice clustering. So there are your large enterprise and hyperscalers. So probably not surprising, again, when we talk about business operations, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon's AWS, all really near the top. How they're basically bringing solutions in across analytics, automation, delivering via the cloud natively is something that's creating a lot of business value, primarily because it's tying together companies across what we call the one office, the front end and the back end, but also the emerging one ecosystem. So we're seeing all of it come together. These players are playing a very important part, not only in the data, the compute, but managing the software, the delivery, the security, and the governance. So creating a lot of cross-business value that's immediately recognized by both our technology team respondents as well as the business operations respondents that we saw there. So that's probably the biggest one. The next one really came down to folks that are helping with the operationalization, given where we've seen ourselves evolve in this now physical and digital world. So we saw companies like Adobe, DocuSign, Workday, companies that are really evolving how we do certain things, whether it's Adobe, the creative, the marketing, the analytics that they bring, a Workday kind of rethinking and help companies advance their overall talent and skill and human capital management solutions. And then somebody like DocuSign. As our customers expect us to be able to transact close to them, we're seeing players that come in that are incredibly important with just making sure those transactions happen across the ecosystems of the customer. Then we went into a whole category of basically builders, I'll call them. So, from kind of new age guys like Slack and Splunk and Atlassian to some tried and true folks like Micro Focus, who are really helping the IT organizations rethink how they are creating that value stream, the collaborative components between what does the business want, how are the requirements changing, and how can technology teams play a more active role in business outcomes, not just in delivering tools and services. So we saw all of those. And then the last one, and not to be forgotten, are the enterprise applications folks, the Oracles, the SAPs, the Lawsons, the Infors, and where we saw these folks coming up and offering solutions that started in the back office, but are really being enabled both through SaaS partnerships, right through to how people are consuming them on the front end. So we saw all these different clusters coming together, and some really neat vendors coming out, and some stories coming out of our research.
It's an interesting, broad. Talk about the number of people on both the buy side and the sell side that you talk to. It's an amazing undertaking, so I'm sure our readers will be excited to log on to hfsresearch.com and download this, which it's available right now. So Joel, thanks so much. I really appreciate you joining me.
Thank you, Mark.
And we'll see you on the next HFS Videocast.